Then we've got some special guests and be conscious of time. We'll call the meeting to order. Heather, could you help us with the roll? And just a reminder to folks, please let us know where you are at, which municipality.
All right, Jennifer Cornell.
Here in Ann Arbor.
All right, Alan Haber.
Oh,
He was here. Are we missing him now?
He is. Yeah, he's not come on screen, at least since I.
Yeah. He was here earlier, so I'll just keep my eye out for him to pop back in. Sarah Hammerschmidt. Not here. Jeffrey Henney.
here in Ann Arbor.
And then Camilla is the next person on the list. And if you don't know, she moved out of state, so she's no longer part of the commission. So we'll be looking for, oh, there's Sarah, somebody to fill that position eventually.
Yeah, and I think she's technically resigned, so I think she could be pulled off the roll.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, she sent in a letter of resignation. All right, Rita Mitchell.
Here in Ann Arbor.
All right, Alice Ralph.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Frank Wilhelm.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Adam Zemke.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Briggs.
Here in Ann Arbor.
And Councilmember Dish.
Here in Ann Arbor.
All right.
And did we pick up Sarah? Because
We did.
just
Sarah, would you let us
Oh,
know?
yeah.
I'm here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Sorry, I was
I'm
late.
And I didn't hear my name, but
Oh, I'm so sorry. Stephen
No.
Bork.
All right. Excellent. With that, then, thank you, Heather. We'll go to approval of the agenda. Heather sent out a link to the Legistar calendar earlier. So if there are any questions or amendments to the agenda, please speak up. Otherwise, if we could get a motion to approve, that would be wonderful.
Well,
All right.
I'll second.
All right. Moved by Jen, second by Alice. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Excellent. Approval of the minutes from the October 6th meeting, also linked in that agenda. Give folks just a minute if there's any questions.
I would move the approval of the minutes.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Can we get a second?
Second.
Oh.
Second by Frank. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. We are into public comment. Do we have any members of the public?
We do have members of the public here. Nobody with a raised hand. There we go. Robert Black. Let me see. There you go. You should be able to talk now.
Can you hear me, Heather?
I sure can.
Thank you. It's Robert Black again. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm just happy to be watching these wonderful meetings. You've been making great progress. I just have a couple comments for your deliberation this evening. From your March 6th meeting was very successful. I thought there were some wonderful collaborations and very respectful communications among the group. A couple of takeaways that were important were to reiterate something that Caitlin Olmsted Phillips had presented also, that you get clear about the mission and vision for this project so that you can begin to reach out in a kind of a marketing and branding process, both with the logo and involvement of the community, so that you can build a kind of a coalition of support in a greater circles around this thing. To that end, I would encourage you to continue to work with Councilmember Dish and Councilmember Briggs to communicate your reports to City Council so that they can be apprised of what's going on as regularly as possible, even to invite them into helping shaping the mission and vision of this thing as a citywide process. Also, I'd encourage you to think about the key players as you work towards the drafting of the RFP. And as I've mentioned many times, alignment is critical here, and also the foundational document that you create that will be used as a design document or studies document needs to be as kind of specific as possible. I know Alice knows much more about this too, to describe it as what we call architectural programming. But to the extent that you can involve the key players in the creation of the RFP, the Downtown Development Authority, have Jeff Watson involved at the table because they're a key player. To have the Parks Department, which you already have Mr. Borgsdorf there involved as a representative from Liberty Plaza, including First Martin Corporation, which is a critical player in this process since they own not only the Spark building, but the Noble House and the Carriage House behind it, which will be critical aspects to any design development of the properties. And then certainly to the extent you can involve and coordinate the efforts, the groundwork that's been done with the initiating committee's green team, that would be helpful. And other people like Jessica Black and others who have been working on things with the parks, with Liberty Plaza would also be part of the groundwork to the RFP. And then lastly, I just want to do a great shout out to the green team this year. You will be receiving a report. I think Mr. Crockett is probably around, that the green team has really represented the spirit of this whole project. There's a sense of volunteerism, excited involvement of people from a diverse spectrum of the city that has created some very interesting things in terms of education, even drawing in the wild ones. Dr. Gracie, Bob Gracie, that I've known for a long time, adds some clout and some cachet to this thing that would be really compelling to the larger members of the city as you move forward. So I wish you good luck in your deliberations tonight, and please keep expanding the circle here. And thanks for your good work and your commitment to this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Heather, do we have any other members of the public who'd like to speak? You are muted actually as well.
Thank you. Sorry. Nobody with their hand up currently.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So we'll close out the first public comment and turn it over to Josh and his team from the Parks Department. So Josh, really appreciate you being here, as well as Jessica. Whomever would like to start, let us know and we can open it up to share too.
Yeah, I will say the introduction and then I'll turn it over to Jessica. She's done the legwork with this. But for those who I have met, I'm Josh Landefeld. I'm the relatively new parks manager since May. Happy to be here. Happy to present what we've done with Liberty Plaza. Look forward to sharing that information and continuing to work together as we move forward with the space and share the ideas that we have. So with that, I will turn it over to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. Heather, just briefly, do you have the presentation I sent over?
I did not see a presentation come through today.
Okay, so.
But if you want to send it, oh shoot, actually I'm having a lot of technical difficulties with my computer.
Okay.
But if I can give you permission to share if that works.
That would probably be just fine.
Okay.
Let me quickly pull it up. I had to call Josh earlier because I actually haven't had to present on Zoom yet for whatever reason. And so I was like, oh my goodness, what do I have to do?
Oh, a whole new world.
And unfortunately, I got soccer duty tonight, so I am sitting in Livonia and I couldn't help that way. So fortunately, technology works really well and we can make this work for it. So
yeah.
I would interrupt for a moment and just add to Josh's introduction of himself. I assume everybody knows him, but if not, it's not like he just bumped off the turnip truck in Ann Arbor, whatever he said several months ago. He's a local guy, Ann Arbor Public Schools product, and is, dedicated to the community in a way that I thought his introduction did not reveal. So I thought I would just share a few of those little tidbits. I'm not going to tell stories on you from, here on River Rat days or anything, Josh, but
I appreciate that. I tend to be a little humble, but yes, I grew up in Ann Arbor, went away to Michigan State for lots of good reasons, came back about 7 years ago to the city of Ann Arbor Parks, and I was fortunate enough to get the manager position when Colin Smith retired. So I'm excited about the opportunity and excited to have an impact on the community and look forward to it. So.
Yeah, we had a lot of great candidates for that role when Colin did retire, and we were super excited to be able to get Josh for the position. So,
plus he's a Spartan. I mean, I think that's wonderful. I'm a Spartan too, by the way.
Go green.
Go white.
Green and parks, what could
All right,
be
let's
better?
not take this too far. Yeah.
You opened it up, Steve.
You
so.
did open it up.
Okay, so I do have my the presentation up, and you just want me to share my screen, correct?
Yeah, if you don't mind doing that. And sorry, I'm not even on my work computer because I was having issues getting into it.
No
I
problem.
appreciate that you can do that. I'm also going to start recording this. This meeting is being aired by CTN, so it's being recorded anyway. But I'd like to do a backup. So I'm going to do the Zoom backup now and start that.
Recording in progress.
All right, there we go.
Okay, and
All
can
right, you should
everyone,
be-
is the showing where, so everyone can see it?
Yep,
It is.
you can see it.
Okay, very good. All right, well, good evening, everyone. As Josh said, my name is Jessica Black. I am a supervisor with the city of Ann Arbor. I'm a lifelong resident. I am actually a Pioneer graduate, not a river rat. I went to Eastern Michigan and started my career at the city 20 years ago as a temporary employee. I'm actually in my office at Cobblestone Farm right now, so this is where I started. I went to the farmers market in 2004, and I was the market manager from July of 2004 till October of 2007, at which point the position I'm in now was created. And I've been here ever since. I'm responsible for all events in parks, all rentals in parks, Cobblestone Farm, and the customer service office for parks. So it makes sense that I'm involved in the Liberty Plaza activation, and I'll just share more about where we are and how we got there briefly. So let me get my mouse right here. I just realized I'm not in the right spot. Okay. So the timeline, back in February, Josh and I had some discussions, some brainstorming, some what would you do if you were given money, talks about how to activate Liberty Plaza. What issues did I see there? What did I think we could do? What have I been doing in years past? And just sort of what could take place. Then in May and June, around that time, the ARPA funding was confirmed. So now we have some money, let's get a job, let's post it, let's hire somebody, let's get going. But unfortunately, that didn't happen as we had planned. So we didn't have a position, or we didn't have a candidate. And in July, my busy season-ish was slowing down. So I could sort of open my eyes and think like, maybe I do want to be responsible for Liberty Plaza. Maybe I do want to take this project on, and maybe my staff and I can kind of figure it out and do something fun. So I told Josh, like, let's do it. I think we can do it. I might be, saying something different in a month, but why not? Let's try. So it was added to my responsibilities. And basically, I feel like I have worn tread in Packard Road and Division to Liberty Plaza from Cobblestone. I'm going back and forth, looking at it differently. As I said, I have lived here my entire life, so I am familiar with Liberty Plaza. Either would scurry past it or stop and enjoy, depending on what was going on. So I've been doing a lot in a different way than I did before. So I'm sorry, I'm having a small issue with my mouse now. Oh, here we are. Okay. So immediately I referenced a report, a site survey report done by the police department in 2001, where they looked at the space and said, 16 pages later, these are the things that you should be addressing, right? You need to open up the sight lines, you need to make it brighter and lighter. How could we do that immediately without kind of taking a lot of time to make physical improvements? What were the quick, simple things that we could do? So we trimmed up some trees. We removed one that was sort of in the middle as well as unhealthy. The tables and the stools that were around the space often lent themselves to bad behavior, not what we wanted to see taking place in that location. So we removed those. And then the historical marker. So the site plan survey, or the site survey that the police department did, talked about how people take ownership of a space when it's maintained, when it's organized, when it's, things are in order, they aren't broken, there's not graffiti. So looking at that historical marker, as lovely as it was and as important as it was shattered. And it was becoming full of stickers and just not safe, frankly. If somebody bumped it, it was probably going to shatter even more. So we removed that. We also did some really industrial power washing down there. So after a couple of just simple power washes by our staff, I wonder if we can really get this space clean. The picture I'm showing is pre-power washing. We also added temporary lighting. So we had some lighting in stock here that we had used for an event at Cobblestone. I said, why don't we just throw these up there? Everybody's doing it in their backyard, the cafe lights, it looks fun, creates a festive area. And then we really focused on the trash picking, really getting down there, making sure things were staying clean, sending my staff, sending the park operations staff, and then also relying on the First Martin staff that assist with keeping that space clean. So those were sort of immediate things that I did, and it changed it. So this picture was, you can see we've removed that tree, we removed the signage, or the sign. You can see the lights are up in here. There's some open space in the front along Liberty. So it really just opened up the space, made it more inviting. You know, you weren't sort of peering in, trying to see what's going on. You were really like, oh, hey, I could go sit down and take a minute and send a text message or make a phone call. I'm really happy with just the really basic stuff we've done. And we have some big future things that we want to do. We have worked to get some decorative lighting quotes. We want to engage in some public art down there. There's some simple park signage that we want to update that can help with enforcement. We met today with a landscaping company to look at the beds. So making sure that we're putting, again, using that site survey to put in plants and greenery that is positive in its in what it looks like, but also creates a positive environment. We're going to replace or repair that historical marker. We need a storage shed. So lots of schlepping things back and forth to Liberty Plaza. Rita Mitchell may remember from the public power event I think you were part of, lots of back and forth. And then considering doing a public Wi-Fi. So some of the events have asked us, like, do you have Wi-Fi? And we don't, right? So it's not available down there. And while people can make do, it would be a great amenity to add. Event-wise, so, you know, we kind of hit the physical things. This is what I've done for events. In 2019, because I've been doing this for a while, I like to talk about the unique events we have and then the number of days, because Sonic Lunch, for example, is one unique event, but it takes place like 6 to 8 times a year. So when you see the numbers above, think of that, use Sonic Lunch as a reference because people pretty much know what that is. So in 2019, you see what we were doing. Then 2021 hit. We didn't really change much. It was just fewer days it was used. But here in 2022, we've got 18 unique events, so more events taking place. The 89 days, I didn't run the report through the end of the year, so there's still like Vineyard Church that's there every Friday that's not counted in the total days. I noticed that earlier when I was reviewing it. We've had some unique events as well, so Give 365 hosted a couple of events down there. There's been, excuse me for a minute, the Vineyard Church, as I mentioned, so they've been very loyal to that location, servicing the population that was using the park most frequently. And so we have a meeting coming up, I think in a couple of weeks or so, to just talk about what we can offer them to assist their event, their weekly events, I guess. So for the individual events, support that we provided, my office and myself provided was signage. So it was easy for us to quickly design stuff. Kimberly Mortson, our graphics designer, is fantastic. Our communication liaison. So we were able to instantly say like, hey, we can do your signs for you. We can bag meters for you. And we have some event related items that we can provide, tables and chairs, or we can assist you with renting those items. So those are like real simple event support that we could provide instantly. Promotion wise, the city in our various Gov deliveries, social media, and Nextdoor, we can reach about 70,000 people, right? So just a simple couple lines with a graphic, put it on Nextdoor, put it in the Gov delivery that goes out, and the social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you're reaching a lot of people right away, which was exciting. There was the article in the Ann Arbor Observer that triggered some interaction from the public and some interest in events, as well as the Liberty Plaza website. So we quickly created that and have been trying to keep that up to date, posting about how to have an event, what are we doing down there? And so I've included that on the slides as well. So some challenges. So, you know, starting in the middle of the summer, in August, July, that's not your best time to sort of get going for events, but it's what it was. Staff, So we were really busy here at Cobblestone and with park events in the spring, and then in July we could take a breath, but I didn't hire more staff. I just didn't have the need for them until we got busy with Liberty Plaza, and then it became a thing where I'm devoting 10 to 15 hours, and then the other folks in my staff are devoting 5 to 6 hours a week on Liberty Plaza stuff. So it became a thing where we started tracking it more closely. How much time are we really spending? And those numbers, they impact you. You find out like, oh, I forgot to reply to this email, or oh, I'm still worried about getting the tables down there. So looking in the future, that's definitely a challenge for us, is making sure we have enough staff that can support what we want to do there. Short timeline, and then the organizers not being really clear on what they need or what they might need. So that was always a lot of back and forth. What do you think you need? Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe you want this. Maybe we want it. So that took up a lot of time for us. And then no storage. So I mentioned earlier, looking to see about a storage shed, some kind of storage capacity, because what I found is while we can provide the items, we need some place to put them safely. We need to not be able, taking 40 chairs and 8 tables back and forth is really labor intensive. If we could store them there for a season, drop them off and pick them up, be a lot easier for everybody. So now I'll just talk about some of the events we had and how we supported them. Josh and I talked right in July, and he was like, activation, let's get it going, figure out what these events need, and assist them as appropriate. So Shape Matter Movement Showcase, it's an annual free event. It's taken place since 2018, and they use the ARPA funding to enhance the event. So to provide additional lighting, to provide a sound system, a sound technician, to, instead of getting the chairs and from the rental company and carrying and driving them themselves to save money, they were able to just have them delivered. And an example of the signage on the far left side, we use that format for nearly all the events. So the center is where we added this specific event, but we kept our logo at the top, Liberty Plaza, and then the information on how to rent below. A fun one that came in, which may never come back, but it was a unique idea. So Chaco Sandals has a tour bus, a school bus that they converted, has a sewing machine inside. They reached out and they said, hey, we want to be in Ann Arbor. Let's go to the market. I'm like, no. The farmer's market is a mess. You don't want to go to the market. I said, what about Liberty Plaza? And I didn't really know what I was saying at the time, because this was, early September. I didn't know if it was going to fit, lots of measuring, FaceTiming with the company out of Portland. And then the bus showed up and it backed in and it lived there for 4 days, and they had a great event. Support we provided was security. So we had an overnight security guard, and then parking. So really like low impact event for us, but had a kind of unique feel. Probably won't see it again, but it still was a fun time. And it was Labor Day weekend and the first football game, if I remember correctly. So it's just kind of crazy downtown anyways. So the U of M CEW, the Center for the Education of Women Plus, their offices are actually in that First Martin building. They overlook Liberty Plaza. So when they got the email about, want to have an event in Liberty Plaza, they thought, sure, why not? Let's do our dinner. The support we provided was organizing the rental items. So the tents you see in those pictures, we were able to put actually 3 20 by 20 tents throughout the plaza so that they could host different portions, dinner, the food, and then some activities. We've had 3 to 4, if I remember correctly, public protests or political events. That's a tongue twister. August 13th, we had the Sunrise Movement of Ann Arbor. These were a group of really dedicated, excited folks to having their first event, not sure what they wanted to do. They were very inspiring for me. It was probably the best way for me to start Liberty Plaza, to just sort of be intrigued by these folks that felt like we could do it, or maybe we can't, but we're going to try. And that's sort of where I was like, I think I can do it. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try and do it. So they had a great event. Lots of they sent a really heartfelt thank you card to me afterwards, and it was really nice. The public power in the plaza, that center picture, so sort of piggybacking on Sunrise in terms of like what they needed for tables and chairs and tents and that sort of items. And then the Women's March, that was kind of a quick turnaround event again. So, but it actually had a huge crowd at it and really positive experience for our community. And then the one that I think personally I've liked the best, if I'm going to be biased here, is Whoa Silent Disco. So back in April we had one random rental and they were like, yeah, we think we might do a silent disco. We don't really know, but it's going to be like a fundraiser. Okay, fine. Here's your permit. You're all set. Well, then when we launched the ARPA funding for Liberty Plaza, the company reached out to me. It's a local resident family. Where did he say? I think he went to Pioneer. But he had started this new business. So silent disco is you wear headphones. There's 3 different playlists going, and you can flip the headphone to listen to the different songs playing. It's all radio transmitter, so they don't need any electricity. There's no need for Wi-Fi. They come with 2 tubs of headphones, and they just hand them out. No issues at all. No, noise pollution. No real impact on the neighbors, on the businesses. No issues with somebody walking off with the headphones and not bringing them back. But what we did see were really great experiences. So in the lower picture, there's like a family of 6, ages like 3 years old up to 9, hanging out in that lower level, dancing, listening to the music. The center picture shows you can sort of see the like green lights or the blue lights on people. They're listening to different music. You would walk by and you couldn't hear any of the music, right? But you could hear people humming and they were dancing. They averaged like 65 to 70 people on each of the Thursday nights they had. Just a really successful 2-hour event on Thursday nights where the, people walking by came to it, or if they saw it in Gov Delivery, they came to it. I went twice. I went to the first one and the last one, and it was a ton of fun. And if you're a people watcher, it was totally fun to sit around and watch people just dancing and having a good time. And so things that I still have coming up, right? So we're going to do a holiday gift market at Liberty Plaza. The Kindle Fest, as we all know it at Carytown, wasn't going to take place. And then they have recently, the Carytown District Association decided to have that event, but in a different way. So if you've ever been to Kindle Fest, you remember it was jam-packed in the market, lots of people, lots of stuff, crazy event in the market space. This year, they're going to spread it out. So just do food and some music in the market, and then allow the drinks to be on 4th Ave, but I will have the crafts. So at Liberty Plaza, we've partnered with the Sunday Artisan Market and the Ann Arbor Farmers Market to provide space for 30 vendors to sell on Midnight Madness, so that Friday, December 2nd. And we're going to see how it goes. My experience running the farmers market, organizing events, and then the Sunday Artisan Market manager is assisting. So we're all very excited. We're hoping there's not a snowstorm. We're looking for balmy early December weather. Whether or not we get it, who knows? But so that's sort of the big event that we have coming up internally here with the city or with parks. But other events that are getting ready to take place this month and into November and December include the Hustle for Housing, the Turkey Trot. Both of those are annual events, as well as the Hanukkah menorah lighting. The Chabad House has that one, and it's this year it's in December. And then again, just kind of going back to Friday night, the Vineyard Church of Ann Arbor has really committed themselves to that space and provided a great resource to our community. They are rain, sleet, snow, shine. They're down there hanging out, providing resources. And we're really thankful to have them committed to that location. And I think, yeah, so so it's kind of close. I want to just kind of acknowledge the other outside of me that have helped me over the last couple of months to really change what's going on at Liberty Plaza, think about it differently, engage the space differently. The municipal parking staff, Judy and Kelly, they've been fantastic. Oftentimes I was super last minute getting meter bag requests in, and they were always willing to accommodate me. All of park operations, so Scott Spooner and Kevin Ernst and Jason Nealis and all of their maintenance staff, lights would get taken down. Quickly, can you trim this? Can you take care of that? Can you power wash that? They always were willing to accommodate the silly requests I would have, oftentimes at the last minute. Everyone in my office, so all of my staff that when I wasn't doing things that I, might have been doing prior to this position or this role, they picked up the slack, right? So everyone that works in my office here at Cobblestone were really supportive with me. And then thanks to Josh, Josh had to listen to me say like, no way, I'm not doing it. I have no interest in it. Nope. No, thank you. Thanks, but no. And then, listen to me come around and say, you know what, I think I can do it. I think we can figure this out. I think it's a good idea. He listens to the good and bad I share, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I'm sure there might be some folks with questions here.
Adam, can I jump in before the questions, just because I want to give Jessica the credit that she really deserves. And while I had belief in her from day one, the work, the effort that was done to make this happen could have only happened because of her experience with event rentals, her understanding of the community, of the park systems, the relationships that she's built. We went through tried to hire somebody that was going to be a challenge. It was going to be a unicorn to find somebody that could do this job. And in reality, we had that unicorn on our staff already. And I was disappointed when she first said no, but I understood 100% why. But I'm glad she came around, and it is exciting to see her excitement about it. And this was going to be a challenge. Activating a space after 2 years of a pandemic that hadn't been utilized and people were not coming down was going to take steps. It was going to take somebody to be passionate about it, and Jessica and her team and everyone embraced it. But it was because of her leadership with this that really made that difference. So
thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Thank you both. Jen, you are up. Go ahead.
So amazing. Really well done. Is this sustainable? Is this something that do you plan to build on it? Is it something that even if you don't plan to grow from here, that it will continue at its current pace? Like, give us like a forward look, please. And again, amazing job. You're really good. Yeah.
I would say without some additional staff, it's not sustainable. That, what we did up to this point was sort of just running at full speed ahead. A lot of, wait a minute, did we remember this? Did we remember that? But I will say that we were able to create some really clear, internal policies and internal checklists for do we have these things in place? So I think if we can hire a few more people, and really the staffing doesn't have to be directly related to Liberty Plaza, but also, maybe doing the events at the farmers market that I host, right? So when people rent the market, that comes through my office, supporting OSI and some of their events that they do. I think that's where we'll go. But I do think that the public interest will always be there. And so we threw a bunch of stuff together and it's working right now. So now is the time that hopefully we can flush through it and then see, where is the longevity? Because I think Liberty Plaza is a great space. I wouldn't have said that in May, maybe, or April, frankly, but it's changed. It's grown a spot in my heart, place in my heart.
yeah, and I will also add just the simple fact that in the PAC did a study of downtown parks in 2012 that spoke to this. The way that this works is through activation. It's through resources. And the thing is it's not just dollars. I mean, we can throw dollars and get Jessica's times paid for, but there's only so many hours in a day that Jessica and her staff can work. And so it's not just the dollars, which are helpful, but it's a dedicated dollars to help us move things forward with people and bodies to make that work. So
I think you did an excellent job of identifying the challenges and the needs in order to continue the success that you've had, but it did beg the question of whether or not it was sustainable long term without you having that type of focus on it. So I appreciate you clarifying. Thank you.
Right, we've got a few folks with their hands up. I think Alan was first, and then I'm not sure if it was Erica or Frank. But go ahead, Alan, you're up.
Okay, yes, I was up and then I dropped out and then I'm back. Well, so wonderful report, very good work. Yeah, Liberty Plaza lives and breathes. Yeah, I had a couple of reflections. The removal of the tables disturbed me because it was around the tables that the people who are the regular users of the park play their games and chess and cards and so on and have their sandwiches. And I thought that was a setback in terms of the sociability of the place, particularly when Jeff Watson from DDA and I had a kind of getting together conversation that began to open a lot of questions. And we said, well, we'll meet again at the table. And then all of a sudden the table is gone. I felt that was, that we need that kind of facility, sociability in the casual use of the place. I think also to see somehow in the governance that the casual users are actually something of a community, and in conjunction with the shelter could well be a valuable part of the maintenance and development of the place. I've been particularly attentive to the sensory garden that the blind community, with help from the Lions Club, maintain, and I hope that can be seen as a gem for further development. But very good that the activity commences, and I think a lot of volunteerism can help the maintenance over time.
Yeah, Alan, thank you for that. I mean, we understand that there are people utilizing that have been utilizing the space, and whether it's through the ministry work, whether it's through vineyards, whether it's there, we understand that there's a use there, and then we're trying to balance that. And that's always the thing that we look to do in park is we realize that there are multiple groups that look to utilize our spaces, and we try to find that balance between every group to make it as accessible as possible. And one of the things we have talked about, again, on future wish lists, is how do we find more portable or more spaces that can be for tables and chairs that can provide that social aspect during the day, and then also be removed during events to make a more inviting space. So it is a challenge that we run into, and it is always our goal not to just move everyone out of there that has been there, but kind of balance between making it more attractive for special events while keeping an opportunity for casual use as well.
There's ongoing discussion with DDA that as this surf public land is repurposed to park and commons, the storage space in the alley should be available at least in sharing for chairs and tables and so on for activation of the library lane lot and the Liberty Plaza. And I noted the concern for where do we put chairs if we got a bunch of chairs between events. So continue that discussion with Jeff Watson, because that storage space really should be accessible for the activation of all of this public area for the people's good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Thanks, Josh. We'll go Erica and then Frank.
I just wanted to say thank you for all your work on this. It's great to see this coming together. It's and all that's a lot of hard work on your end, on the park staff end. So, and I think it was a good convergence of a lot of folks having conversations around the same time and recognizing some different issues that were growing in the area. And I appreciate Mr. Dehoney, who responded pretty quickly to discussions around activation, the activation subcommittee here, and jumped in and said he was interested in taking a harder look at Liberty Plaza and convening that working group to begin thinking about Liberty Plaza from a variety of different areas, but then also advocating for that funding from council to be able to move this forward. So I'm curious in terms of the sustainability aspect of this, and I hear you kind of throwing some ideas around about how some of this event programming from different departments and stuff like that could be maybe melded together. Is that something that is being, I know this was using ARPA funding. Is there a feeling that there may be an opportunity through the use of, putting together different pots of money that we may be able to fund a position or a part-time position doing this in the next budget cycle, or are these conversations still kind of developing?
I think that there is a desire, in the initial meetings about Liberty Plaza, obviously has been Mr. Dahoney spoke often about this is a community. This is something that there needs to be various components to make this work. From our point of view, we have 160 plus parks in the city of Ann Arbor. Jessica has dedicated, we have $100,000 dedicated for staff and resources to one park. Obviously, the math that goes along with that is not going to be one that's very sustainable. So the idea of how do we look at urban parks? How do we look at downtown parks as not just Liberty Plaza, not just the library lot, not just Farmers Market, but how do we look at that and determine how we make those spaces work moving forward? I will, and from my point of view as the manager, again, we have roughly 13 facilities. We've got 30 some odd staff that all could use an additional full-time person. So as we look at the budget for this upcoming fiscal year, it is trying to find out where that additional support is most valuable to the department and the community, understanding that Liberty Plaza Urban Parks is a focus right now. So it's just finding that balance to say, I would love to come together and figure out the different pots of money to be a part of this, because I think it is a very good thing. And I think the work that Jessica does that could be done more at the Farmers Market at West Park, with supporting relationships with the library lane. Those are the things that we're looking for. To say that I would like this to be dedicated to just this position, it won't be where we start with, but I think it's where we can support with it. So,
great, thanks.
Excellent, thank you, Frank, and then Rita.
I just want to echo the thank yous to Josh and Jessica and their entire team. I'm thinking back to where my mind was in March, April, May. And this was just still very much a dream and a hope that this was before the ARPA funding, I think, became available, et cetera. And to think that I think your biggest contribution is you've demonstrated the viability of this space for a much broader community agenda, not to put aside in any way the established use by a part of our community that often doesn't have anywhere else to go. I think that's still important and viable and something that needs to be supported. But I'm just thrilled that through your efforts, you've demonstrated the viability for a broader community agenda for Liberty Plaza. I've said probably more times than I can even remember that the future of the entire center of the city effort, including the library lane, et cetera, really does hinge on Liberty Plaza. That has to be successful for the entire project to be successful. So I'm thrilled with that. And Jessica, if you ever want to talk about the very early days of Cobblestone Farm, I was chair of the Historic District Commission, and somehow Cobblestone Farm landed in our lap temporarily back in the 70s. And so be happy to talk about the early days when security was a big issue out there. And anyhow, it's obviously in good hands today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Rita.
I want to say thank you as well. And I can say from direct experience that with one of the events, as Jessica mentioned, the Ann Arbor for Public Power event, had excellent support from Jessica and Connor, and I believe unseen people to me, to help us get things organized. And it was very well done and was a pleasure. A question I have, because of that experience, I know that some funding was used to actually support the event. And so that's actually different from the way I think a lot of events go on in some of the public places, meaning that usually there's a fee for the group that is putting on the event, as opposed to us getting support for some of the services and things that we used. So do you see this turning around so that there actually could be revenue from use of this space that would support the staffing or materials or furniture, things like that?
I'll jump in and Jessica can add to it. Yes, I mean, obviously this is, we are fortunate to have this ARPA money to be able to pull people in. You know, Liberty Plaza has historically for a number of years not required a fee for the permit. So different things like electricity or number of people, that those fees were still there, but so we've known that we've needed to activate it and we've reduced that fee. But just because the $35 or the space fee is there, that doesn't make people want to come. So this got us people in. They can see exciting. They can see how it can be utilized. They can work with Jessica. They can understand what is needed, and then hopefully they'll want to come back, because again, just because it's free doesn't mean that's why they came. They came this time, and hopefully they'll come back in the future. So that's going to be the expectation. You know, at this point, we have $100,000 of ARPA fund that we're going to utilize till the end. And hopefully if you have another event, you're the one that is at 99,500, and you get the last $500 of the event, not at 100,000. So that's where we're kind of at with that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I just wanted to say thank you. Echo the thanks that everybody has given here, and I know. Just put a plug in. Rita and Frank led a lot of the comparable communities work for this group and have some really great ideas, as well as Jeff Crockett and his army of volunteer gardeners. And so always appreciate their work. And so if you're ever looking for bodies to help do some of those activities, I'm sure there would be some very willing volunteers. And Alan, I'll give the floor back to you real quick again one last time, and then we will bid Jessica and Josh farewell and thank them for their evening.
Thank you. I wanted to add Jessica onto the list of events of 2022, Martin Luther King Day on January 15th. We had a program in Liberty Plaza. What is your dream? With a video, and people came up one after another, expressing their dream. A very good program. We'll likely do it again this next Martin Luther King Day.
Well, it's a busy spot, so make sure you reach out to me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jessica, for your excellent presentation and all of your hard work over the last year. And Josh, thank you again for all of your team and everything you guys are doing. We know that you have a lot going on and a lot of facilities to manage, and we really appreciate all your work. And we know your budget's strapped, so appreciate you. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a nice evening. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is approval of the 2023 meeting schedule. So I know Heather may have some comments here. This is a piece that we have to do. Heather, did you want to kick off just by starting some things off? And I have some suggestions too.
Yeah, so the city clerk is requesting the city clerk's office, I should say, is requesting for us to set our schedule for the next year so we can get our notices out there well in time. So this is really for us to determine if we want to carry on with the same schedule that we've been doing. So it's the first Thursday of the month, or if there's some other arrangement that we want to do.
So I'd like to make a suggestion on this. And I think it kind of ties in nicely with the condensing working groups piece. And so, one of the things that just on a schedule standpoint, first Thursday, if we do monthly or if we, alter works well for me. I don't know if that works well for others. In terms of that time slot, we can talk about that. But I would like to suggest that maybe we think about, we can amend this schedule, right, Heather?
Correct. I mean, the same way that we do it now. So if we need to drop a meeting, definitely. If we want to pick one up, we can also do a special meeting. We just need to get the notification out in advance. And if we do want to adjust, if we're finding that we want to just generally adjust our schedule, I think we can do that. We just need to get the notifications out in time.
Okay. I'd like to suggest that we explore reducing our meeting schedule at some point, but I'd like to give us a little opportunity to let our condensed working groups do some work and see how that goes. So I guess my suggestion on this is if we can maintain what we've got right now, but revisit it maybe in a couple of months and see how we feel about reducing our first Thursday of the month meeting, if we're making more progress on the condensed working schedule. How would folks feel about something like that? So we keep things as they are, but then agree that we're going to revisit in a couple of months or so. Alice, you got your hand up. You are muted. Alice, you're muted.
Oh, I didn't mean to have my hand up. Sorry.
Also, I was muted. So I just came from earlier this afternoon, a meeting similar where we considered a similar question about how often we would meet, which is partly mandated by ordinance, but we have had varying levels of business. And so sometimes, well, I'll make it short. We decided that we would keep our monthly schedule, and because it was easier to cancel a meeting than to reschedule a meeting, than to create a new meeting when it's not already been slotted. So that might be something to consider, where if we don't have significant business or progress and we need more time to prepare for the next meeting, that might be an option, unless it's not allowed by our local ordinance.
I think it is. Heather, correct me if I'm wrong. We are able to cancel at any given time, right? As long as we have proper notice.
Right, that's correct.
So if we establish this regular, if we keep the established interval, then we can give ourselves some space if we need to.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I my thought on this is, I think that definitely works. I would like to give folks enough time to plan, so especially if there are attendees who would like to attend or something like that, and certainly council members, if we can agree that if we see a pattern where we need some more time, then we plan on reducing it, to every other month or something like that at some point. But I do think it's totally fair to let it play out. How are folks feeling about that type of scenario where we keep the status quo for now, and then if we start to see that we need more time, we can cancel and move to a more standard. Rita, you put your hand up, and then Frank too.
Yeah, I really was trying to look for the thumbs up. I was going to say, I think it's good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we got a couple thumbs up. Any thumbs down? Okay. All right. Heather, does that answer your questions sufficiently?
It does. Yeah. I'll let them know that we'll carry on with the same schedule until further notice.
Okay, excellent. So why don't we put a pin in this, and we'll come back in no later than January, and see how we're going. So with that, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda. This is the condensing the working groups. So at our last meeting, we had report outs from those working groups and recommendations around their plans. And in fact, one of them agreed to self-dissolve at that point, or recommended they dissolve. And I think we had a really good discussion then around what the future sort of looked like in terms of our work plan. And coinciding with that, progress around fundraising for the RFP and the long-term planning, and our past efforts to activate the space, and certainly seeing some of the space being activated by the Parks Department, and seeming to be a stronger interest in that type of activation. So I had indicated at the time that I thought that really our work group structure probably needed to be morphed a little bit. And so spoke with some of you offline around what that could look like a little bit more. And, we don't have to keep these names that are in the agenda, but these seemed like the right work streams going forward. So the first one being the future space design. So this is the visionary piece that includes things like the RFP, fundraising for that planning process, engaging in the planning process, et cetera. And then the current activation of the space, including things like near-term use, activation, streamlining of application, maybe working with the Parks Department, more so around some of their efforts, seemed like the natural other work stream. And that our previous working group, where we had 4 that shrunk to 3, seemed to morph more into this combined effort. And so we put that on the agenda tonight for discussion. And also, I'd like to suggest that maybe we talk about leadership in those areas and that sort of thing. So Alice, you've got your hand up. You can go ahead, and then certainly others can comment as well.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good follow-up to what we were just talking about, meetings. It means that we have a little more time for some things, like say the RFP may not have much going for the next month or two. And so we wouldn't want to spend time on that. But there may be other things related to fundraising or other parts of that one work stream that could be facilitated by having a meeting and having more discussion, or bringing in people for a certain period of time who are not on our, we're allowed to bring in consultants with these work streams, meaning block partners or people who have experience that are not on our commission, that kind of thing. So I think that, especially with that one, in these next months, there may not be much activity on the RFP, but there may be things that are looking forward to, say, funding streams or management structures and that kind of thing that is for the long term that might be affected or affect the RFP. On the other hand, the near-term activation will probably be done by a lot of outside people, but we want to be able to figure out what those events need, just as Jessica Black was saying that there was a lot of figuring out what is needed there. Certainly the storage issue was the one that we have to figure out too, and that will fit right in with supporting the parks with Liberty Plaza, as well as finding out how we can develop that for bigger events or other events that, I don't know, we might have coincides, parallel events. So I just wanted to mention that this structure sounds good to be able to be more flexible, to bring people in for a certain purpose and have them help us figure things out, or to bring those ideas into our meetings when we need to figure out how to implement them. So that's what I have to say for now.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I agree with all those sentiments. Are there other thoughts or comments around this idea? Stephen, you unmuted yourself. Do you want to go?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I think it simplifies the approach. Are we talking about now an activation, or are we talking about the future and funding and sort of I can see maybe possibilities where the two groups would overlap to some degree, and that's why the larger committee is there. From my perspective, as the PAC liaison, it would make sense, I think, for me or whoever is the PAC liaison in the future, to be in the now activation committee as opposed to in the future committee. It seems more PAC relevant. So that was my thoughts. Yeah, but I'm in favor of the concept.
Excellent, thank you. And Jen, and then I don't know if Frank, you put your hand up and took it down, but you're welcome to go after her.
I was just going to say 2000%. I feel like this is a really broad group of smart people, and let's combine our forces and figure out how we can actually advance things versus continuing to have the same conversations. So 2 thumbs up.
Excellent, thanh you. Frank, then Alan.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo the words of support, and I think this structure also lends itself to bringing additional voices in beyond the membership of the council as we build out these groups and chart the course for these 2 work streams.
Excellent, thank you. Alan? You are muted, Alan, by the way.
Yes, I'll echo the same echo, though the actual distinction between these 2 lines isn't so hard and sharp, at least in my perspective, because I'm involved in program and activation and also toward the long term. But I think that helping to shape and put input into whatever is the process that shapes the RFP and the funding for it is sort of a coherent task, and I see that as being set for a focal point of work that I'm very interested in.
Excellent, thanks, Alan. Erica.
Thanks. Yeah, and I concur with all that. It makes sense to go into these 2 sort of different subcommittee pieces. I think obviously we need to be careful not to hit above quorum on either subcommittee, otherwise that becomes an issue. And then I'm sorry, I had to step away from the computer as we were amending as the agenda was being approved, so I probably should have amended it. But do you think that? I think it might be relevant for me to talk about some short-term activation stuff right here, right now, since it kind of might inform the committee structure and some of the thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Feel free.
Okay. So, just so all are aware, the discussion that we had a year plus ago around the commission unanimously recommending activating the library lane service lot with food trucks, that resolution, as you know, got pulled back from council in the summer of last year due to some concerns from downtown restaurant owners and street association as kind of folks were recovering from COVID. But it seemed appropriate to get that back on the agenda after having had some time here. So I just wanted all to be aware that was going to be a resolution was going to be submitted to council for next Thursday night's agenda. It's bumped back. Council meeting's next Thursday, not Monday. So that'll be going in front of council. And basically it's very similar to what we had talked about last year, essentially, asking the city administrator and team to begin looking at, what would be the cost, the operational model, the sustainability, the feasibility of being able to, have and reoccurring use through food trucks or other mobile vendors like pop-up artisans and stuff like that, and having staff really dig into that issue and come back with a report on that. And the time frame is by April 1st of next year. So that will be in front of budget season and in front of planning season as well. So in terms of the short-term activation piece of things, in some ways, a lot of these conversations, some of these conversations, at least for are going to be explored in a activate from a staff perspective, both from the surface of the library lane parking lot, and then obviously we just heard from Parks about Liberty Plaza. So there's going to be some extra manpower on this for the next 6 months or so.
Even more the reason.
Assuming it gets approved on Thursday night, which co-sponsors are Councilmember Dish and Councilmember Grand right now.
Excellent. Well,
Yep.
that is really wonderful news and obviously very relevant. So kudos to Councilmember Briggs and Councilmember Dish for their hard work on this. We really appreciate it, and certainly relevant to this topic. And I think there are a couple things that it seems like there's no opposition to this idea around the structure. I do think it sounds like, especially given what Councilmember Briggs just indicated, one of the things we should probably come up with is appointing a leader for each of the 2 work streams, and then empower that leader to bring together folks and maybe create a charge. And so I'd like to see what folks think about that and if they have any ideas around names. So, Frank.
I'd like to have us consider Rita Mitchell to head up the short-term activation group if she's so inclined. So I guess I'm nominating her for that.
I'll second that.
Rita, are you willing to accept that responsibility? You are muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm particularly glad to hear you said something about support, but yes.
Excellent.
Right.
All right. Any other names, or are we feeling good about Rita for the activation?
Yeah. I just want to add about the support. This appointment of one person doesn't mean that one person does all the work.
Thank you.
So we will need to make sure that we have another person who can help whoever takes the first stab at this leadership.
Yeah, I feel like having a leader for each of them and recognizing that leader from this group is probably the most important thing tonight. And then they can coordinate others to get engaged. Certainly, we've heard a lot from folks who wanted to bring in more voices. That's very good. Work with any of the coordination efforts at the Parks Department, especially on this one, this area, and then create that charge and be a productive working group, and then be able to come back to this group and report out. So, all right. So Rita, you are it for short-term activation. Any ones for the longer-term planning? If not, I'm happy to do it.
Yay.
It reminds
I was
me
going
how
to nominate you.
All
Go
right.
for it.
it
Please.
reminds me of how you got to be chair of this group.
Yeah,
So.
that was. Well, that's another
I
story.
think there's a groundswell.
Okay, so I'm happy to take that one on as well. And so as long as everybody's okay with that, then we'll take this next step. The previous 3 working groups will be effectively dissolved. Rita and myself will be appointed as the leaders of the 2, I guess they're technically still called working groups, per the requirements we have. And we will have to be conscious around quorum, but we'll also want to be inclusive of incorporating more voices into this process. That's been one of our constraints here, and so this will allow us to do that. And I think the goal will be that if we're able to do this successfully, we'll report back, and that leader will be the coordinator of that reporting back into this group. So, got a couple hands up, Alan, and then Sarah.
Well, I particularly in the request for proposal fundraising line, I'm interested in how you see this actually working. As I, in particular, put forward a number of proposals that I thought should be included into the scope and the request for proposals. And I also put forward in the fundraising a view toward bottom up and all around fundraising, as well as a focused solicitation. And so, how do these ideas that do not crest at the first on the first wave get themselves heard?
Alan, I think that will be a question I have to answer in putting forth the charge. But I don't have an answer for you tonight, but I can tell you that we certainly are going to take into account the work that was put into that RFI. And I know you did spend a lot of time on the scope that was included in that RFI. And we're going to take that into account, but I will be conscious of it in putting the charge, and I'll give you a call.
Give me a call.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Sarah?
Thanks. Sorry, I've been quiet tonight. I'm having all kinds of computer problems over the past 2 weeks. But I never remember what quorum is ever. Are you envisioning, like, is everybody going to be on like one or the other committee? Like, do we have enough numbers that makes sense? Or no?
That's really, I think we want to empower the both the committee members and also the chair to work on that. So, I mean, just as one example, and I don't want to, I think on the longer term planning, we're going to want to pull in some other members, block partners, and community leaders, people who have vested interest in the space, users of the space, into that discussion. And then I'm sure that Rita will want to do that as well. So I would say stay tuned, but I think we want to leave ourselves flexible. So one thing I hope we don't run into, but I suppose if we could, we'll deal with it if we hit this problem, is if we have people who want it, we have too many commission members who want to be a part of one, but I'm hoping that we will be able to, avoid that. So.
Okay. So are you like, as the like chairs, are you just going to tap, like, are you tapping people, or do you want people to like say, okay?
I think certainly the chairs will tap people, but then if there's an interest by an individual, they certainly should reach out to the chair.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'll just sort of echo like what Steven said, like, as the planning commission liaison, if you wanted me to do anything, it probably would make the most sense to be on the longer term, whatever that one was called. But
okay,
let you decide.
we'll talk. All right. I'll give you a call too.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Erica.
I was just going to answer the specific question around quorum. So currently there are 12 seats on the commission. 11 are filled right now. So quorum would be 6. So we really can't all be serving on a committee. Otherwise we would hit, that quorum issue, at least on one of those subcommittees if there was a meeting. So I think it really by nature needs to be a smaller group of folks that are kind of working on these things.
Thank you. That clarification.
I just wanted to add that it doesn't mean that we can't communicate an idea, but we don't have to be in the management of all those ideas all the time. So I think it will help us all to focus if we have a leader and a backup for that leader, and then we don't have to be present to contribute an idea. So we do need to have these new ideas or other ideas coming in from the people who will be affected or in participating, such as a company being chosen for the RFP, or parks activities with Liberty Plaza, or any of these things can be filtered through one of the two groups or both, if that seems necessary. So this gives us flexibility, more voices, and more different voices when we need them, off and on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate, though, we wouldn't be able to communicate with more than a quorum of people outside of a commission meeting, because that's violation of Open Meetings Act. And so,
Yes.
we can't have like a side conversation with the whole commission about
No.
subcommittee thing. But certainly individually, I think which is what you were pointing out, which is
Right.
just, we can submit an idea or a thought to the subcommittee. And I think that's a great way for us to be able to, as long as it's just kind of go into that chair.
Yep.
And also the beauty of this is that, we will come back together here and, have, be at quorum and be able to have discussion and provide feedback and all of that. So it should create a good feedback loop. So, well, this is excellent. This takes us through this item on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is next agenda items. So there's nothing there. Why don't we, unless there's anything that really pops in somebody's head, I think the items certainly are a follow back on from each of the chairs of these new work groups and a report out of what the charge is, plus anything else in the near term that they want to accomplish. There could be other items too, but I certainly think that's one of them. Erica?
And I don't know that this would work necessarily for the next meeting, but I appreciated the Parks Commission, our park staff coming in and presenting today. I thought that was really, very timely and very helpful. There was some discussion around block partners. I think it might be helpful to see if the library might be willing to come in and provide a presentation about some of their long-term visioning work that they have done. And obviously they're just about to elect a new board, and I don't know that December is the right time frame for them, but maybe it is for a 20-minute presentation just from there, especially from the new library director to talk a little bit about what's going on there.
I think that's a great idea. And Heather, why don't you and I talk about reaching out to Eli? And I think that's a real good idea. Any other items for the agenda, future agendas? We can always email Heather and ask for items to be added to. So with that, in that case, we'll move on to public comment.
Well, yeah, I call attention to the attachment from Kitty Khan in the minutes from that were attached in the last meeting that give all the, not all, but a great deal of the physical particulars of the parking structure construction in terms of alternative uses and so on that we had asked. So what really are the particulars of this place? So that attachment that Kitty sent from the contractor would be well worth just to look at, so we know physically what the structure is made of, that we're the surface of which we are greening.
Alan, I think I'm going to take that one and put it right in the long-term planning committee. Seems like a very appropriate place. But to your point, we'll bring it back as part of the report.
Yeah, it had blazing prose, but it's
absolutely. And then Councilmember Dish, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to give credit where credit is due and say that Erica did, Councilmember Briggs did all of the work on the resolution. I am very happy to support it and very much hope we are able to bring some life and light and food and snacks and music to the space. But please just thank Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Takes a team to get it to council.
Frank?
Just a question. When will the resolution be publicly available, the draft resolution?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will go to public comment. Heather, do we have any members of the public?
We do. Robert Black. All right, you should be able to talk.
Okay, Heather, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Again, I'm impressed by you guys and the progress and the speed of your resolutions of things, and it's very, very heartening. The coordination, the reducing the number of working groups and focusing them is really good. I just had a couple quick comments. Thinking about the challenge that you have to integrate the governance of these diverse sites, including the people that are potential partners to this project. It's very tricky. And I think that you, as the Council of the Commons, are the hub of this thing, even though you don't have decision-making, power in a sense. That's left to other groups, City Council, Parks, the library itself, First Martin Corporation, et cetera. But that you do have the possibility to be the hub for these so-called spokes on the wheel. And again, I just articulate the possibility for you to create an overarching mission and vision to this, to define the core principles that you're shooting towards, to set a schedule and a calendar towards critical path milestones, like Ann Arbor 200. The library is working on that. They have had some pieces out for a while now. And so could you coordinate them and find common ground there to the bicentennial, especially, and put a pin in that future piece right there, so that you could begin to start to work in one voice. And then also to reach out to other parts of the group and work toward this integration. I love the idea that Alice was talking about, also Erica, to get other voices to come in to talk with you, to dialogue with you in a sense, more than just Parks. And then also to have Parks understand that it's a permeable sieve between them. It's not just an insular boundary of the Parks Department as its own governance, but that perhaps input would come in, like the suggestion to have the volunteers of the Green Team begin to work, if it's appropriate, or liability, et cetera, to have them kind of work towards the stewardship and governance of this. So it's more of a bottom up, as Alan has been talking about. And then let me see, what was the last thing? The activation ideas, that you use them as learning opportunities to harvest everything you can from each one and fold it into your larger mission and vision. And if you think about, there's already a logo for Liberty Plaza, and it says Liberty Plaza. And if you look at the byline, it says the place to be. So there's a message in there that's calling out like a marketing scheme from Liberty Plaza. But could you invite them or work with them to create a larger vision for the center of the city, a logo or something to create a public discussion about this? The time of the holidays is a really good time to begin to do this integration and draw people there. For example, the phased attrition of the library surface lot, where the northwest corner that was suggested before is a smaller piece, where you begin to active that, as Alice's word was, in parallel. And I love that idea. You could learn a lot from these parallel activations, different governance, but different activities, as Jessica showed so well, that people are coming toward this place now. You can draw them to you. So it's very exciting. When she showed the picture of the lights around Liberty Plaza, that was an image of a possibility of this thing. And last thing I'll say, my son Ari and Jessica Black were born almost within months of each other. And there was a Christmas about 40 years ago where the two of them are jumping on a bed at a big Christmas party. And I was going to talk to her about that at some point. But I love the interconnections here and how she has grown to be this very strong leader. So good work tonight, and good work in your future discussions. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Some really good ideas you had there too. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Heather, any other members of the public wishing to speak?
No, I don't see anybody.
Okay, excellent. In that case, could we have a motion to adjourn this evening?
I move.
All right, and a second? All right, seconded by Councilmember Dish. All right, well, all in favor, say aye.
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 Excellent. I would like to say that before we wrap up, this was the shortest meeting we've had yet.
Yeah, this is a record. Wow, congratulations, crew. You are.
And look how much we got done.
Yay.
Awful lot.
Always seek to break a record when it comes to Providence. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. And thanks for
everyone.
everything. We'll
Thanks,
see you
everyone.
soon. Yep.
Good night.
Good to see you.
Night. Bye-bye.